Hey y'all, welcome back to the Free Black Women's Library YouTube channel. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. Thank you for liking this video, and thank you for subscribing to my channel. What's going on, y'all? My name is Ola. I'm an artist, a cultural worker, a librarian, and I'm also a media junkie. And on this channel, I ramble about movies, TV shows, and books that I am excited about. And today I'm talking about The Gilded Age. The Gilded Age, currently streaming on HBO and Hulu, season 3, episode 8, also known as the finale for this season. And they definitely ate with this one. Shout out to the whole cast and crew. Y'all put your foot in this episode. It was so good. It was so good. It was so effing good. Everything from the costumes to the hair to the acting to the dialogue to the lighting to the music, the score, to every detail, the camera work, everything was so top tier. Tens across the board. Y'all ate that. Ooh, it was such a good episode. It was such a good episode. Okay, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Did y'all love it as much as me? I have tons of notes. Let's get into it. So, my only complaint, and it's not really a complaint, is I feel like the downstairs folks don't get a lot of story development or haven't gotten that much story development in this season. The only person that we really got to see go through anything was Jack, and he basically elevated. So he's no longer a downstairs person. So I think that's kind of interesting. We had a little bit of a thing with the chef and the head of the house dating, and turns out she's married and her husband is in a mental asylum. Hopefully they'll give us more of that in season 4. I would love a little bit more balance. I think it's because I'm a Downton Abbey stan, and I think Downton Abbey did a really good job of giving us downstairs life and upstairs life with the characters. So, anywho, but that's not a complaint. It's just something I noticed this season. But yeah, so Jack, he was a footman, but he's now a Richmond. And he's got his house, but he still comes to visit his friends at the Forte house, also known as his chosen family, right? And he's hanging out with them. And we have this moment where Bridget kind of grills him about who his servants are, how old they are. And Bridget, where are you going with this? I thought that Bridget and Jack would have a romantic moment of some kind. But now I'm wondering if they're going to be more siblings. What do y'all think? I don't get a romantic vibe from them just yet. But I do know that Bridget definitely had a crush on him at one point. So she then comes to visit him with this lamb stew that actually did look delicious. And she tells her she can sit down. You're a guest in this house, you're not a servant in this house. And she sits down at the table, and he tells her that he feels safe with her there. And I hope you don't feel uncomfortable with me saying that. And I thought that was so sweet. We love a consenting king, okay? And Bridget says, I don't feel uncomfortable at all. I think Bridget has always been a bit bolder than Jack. So we'll see where it goes. So that was pretty much it for that storyline. I thought they would end up at the ball, or I don't know. I thought something, but you remember she was talking about, oh, where would I wear a fancy dress? Anyway, that's Jack and Bridget's story. And also downstairs, we got to see Adelheid again. She's so excited to be back with Gladys. And Gladys is kind of like, oh, hey, Adelheid. So Adelheid's back, and I like that she's back. Um, and that's pretty much the story with Adelheid, and that's it for our downstairs, upstairs connections. Moving on to somebody who was also downstairs, but it is now upstairs. Miss Winterton is back, and I think we're going to see a lot of her in season 4 because she had a moment at the ball where they focused a lot on her entering in, and I felt like that was a visual cue. She was the first person that we saw enter into the ball in a big way, that huge camera pan. And one of my favorite lines, as Miss Winterton enters into the ball, Bertha, she says maybe her and Bertha could possibly be friends one day. Woman, you tried to sleep with her man. She don't want to be your friend. But anywho, and Bertha says no, but anything is possible, right? Miracles do happen. But she says, step into our ballroom to witness our magnificent display of illumination. And it was quite magnificent. So I like Winterton. At first, I did not, but now I see that she just wants to be a member of high society. She's not really in it for anything else but that. She wants to, she's very similar to Bertha. Her methodology was extremely flawed, trying to sleep with George. That was poor, in poor taste. But we shall see. We shall see. Her and Oscar might be forming an alliance. This is what you call a lavender marriage. I don't know if Winterton knows that it would be a lavender marriage because did they ever talk about that? I wonder. But Oscar says, you have a house and I have a house. So we could do our thing at our houses. And in New York, we could play the happy couple. What do you say? My connections, your money. We could be a power couple. Let's do this. And Winterton looks like she's open to the idea. I'm a little bit concerned about this alliance. I am concerned. I don't know if it's going to blow up in their faces, but I know that Winterton always looks like the cat that ate the canary in every scene. And Oscar, he also wants to be that cat. He wants to be a canary eating cat. So we shall see. We shall see. Okay, moving on to Larry and Marion, also known as Larian. Now, we land in this place where they are not broken up, but they're not engaged either. They have these moments, and it's a little dry to me, this will they, won't they situation. Peggy's 4th engagement. Not Peggy, sorry, Marion's 4th engagement. It is, I'm not intrigued by the storyline, really. I understand both sides. Larry shouldn't have lied. Marion shouldn't have jumped to conclusions and freaked out and written that Dear John letter. They both are a mess and possibly too young to have this deep of a relationship. They need to deal with some stuff. Larry doesn't have trauma around relationships, but Marion does. So her being given a little bit of grace is valid, but I'm leaning more towards Marion's side in this instance, actually. uh, but I understand Larry's side as well. So anyway, moving on. As y'all can see, I don't got much to say about that. Let's move on to Gladys and the Duke. Now, I predicted that Gladys was pregnant. Sip some water. I made this prediction And it came true. And I'm glad that they are adding a spin on the Dollar Princess marriage to the Duke, as opposed to what happened in reality. Apparently, it was a very unhappy marriage. Mm. Gladys seems to be happy and delighted that she is pregnant. She's delighted that Sarah has been given the boot, and the Duke seems to adore her. So they are both pouring into each other, and something beautiful is happening. And I'm happy for Gladys. Great. Good job. I'm looking forward to seeing her pregnant and being a mom to the babies and what will come of that. So, A1 for Gladys. Moving on to the major plot, Bertha's ball. Okay. So Bertha is in charge of this ball, and she has decided that Aurora can come and Mrs. Astor's daughter, who are both divorced or on their way to divorce, can come. You are all invited, except for Ward McAllister. But yes, no longer are we going to ban women for the mistakes of men. Why can't these women come to the ball and be fancy with everybody else? Her husband is walking around with his mistress. She's supposed to sit at home, she said, doing needlework. Hell to the no. To the no, no, no. I did nothing wrong. And listen, down with the patriarchy. It's some BS. One thing I appreciate about Bertha is she, in her own way, does attempt to be for women. She wants women to have power. Part of the reason that she put Gladys in that position is because she felt like it would give Gladys power to be a duchess. She would be in charge of land, property, people, culture, just automatically, her being royalty. So I get it. Forcing her into the marriage is still feels unsettling, of course. But either way, uh, Bertha has her ball, and it's a glorious, gorgeous feat, and everyone who's supposed to be there is there. Mrs. Astor shows up and has reconciles with her daughter, and it's very beautiful and very sweet because her daughter's like, I thought you would choose society over me. And she says, well, it shows that you don't know everything, baby girl. And she's uncomfortable the whole time. She's shining in her jewels and her hair is pinned up in this glorious bun, but she's very much looking down her nose at the situation. Mind you, there's only two divorcees there, but it's all of a sudden it's a den of iniquity. Either way, the ball is glorious, the ball is beautiful, and George is there. Now, I'm going to talk about George's situation while I'm talking about Bertha because they are basically extensions of each other. So the episode starts out with George bleeding out in the carriage, rushed in, and it was so frantic and so hectic. And Julian Fellows almost gave me a heart attack. It was so intense. Okay. This scene, we don't know what was going to happen, but thankfully, Dr. Kirkland is right across the street. Oh, he's colored. We don't care. We need a lifesaver up in here. Dr. Kirkland to the rescue, running into the house. He doesn't have his bag. Marion is running behind him with the doctor's bag. We're going to save this robber baron, okay? They lay him on that table, that glorious dining room table where they've had those dinners, those fancy dinners, and they have surgery right there. Marion hops up on the table in her fancy gown, and she's holding George's chest, and Bertha is holding George's head, and he looks pale. He looks so pale. Makeup is so good. He's completely out of it. And then they have this scene, this disgusting scene where we get to see the bullet being pulled out of his chest. Are you kidding me? I said Julian Fellows is trying to give me a heart attack, attack. This is too much. This is too much. What a moment. What a moment. There were so many incredible scenes in this episode, and that frantic opening. Okay. So Dr. Kirkland saves the day. Dr. Kirkland pulls the bullet out, and shout out to the props department. The bullet, the forceps, it's not splintered. That's a good sign. That means it's just it could be a flesh wound, and we just stitch him up. We stitch him up. He starts to go into shock. We hold him steady. Fade to black, and then we come back and George is stable. And here comes Dr. Logan, the doctor of preference, right? The doctor. And he looks at the stitches. Where did you go to school? What did you say your name is? Dr. Kirkland, Howard Medical University, HU. Okay. Shout out to the one and only. Okay. The School of Toni Morrison. Hello. The School of Chadwick Boseman. Hello. Anywho, shout out to all the Bisons out there. But I said, okay, this is interesting. Is it realistic? I don't know, but I'm okay with it. I'm very much okay with this scene and this life-saving moment and this Black doctor being in his power and saving a life. Very powerful moment, okay? For me, I felt it, and the acting was supreme. So it turns out that George is going to be okay, thanks to Dr. Kirkland. They have him come back and they give him this fat check. We don't know how much it's for, but it looks like it's a lot of money because when he opens the envelope, there's a pause. Probably a lot of zeros. And all this time, we see George interacting with Bertha in a way that seems as if he is feeling a connection with her, as if they're vibing. Not super deeply, but he's looking at her and we don't know what he's thinking, but it's very unsure, unsteady. And then we have this moment where George says, we don't want the police or anyone to know about this. I want to handle this on my own. And they have this ominous looking man who's a detective of some kind, a PI possibly, is going to look into Clay because he is our first suspect, of course. Special delivery for George Russell. It's giving Clay, right? So then George tells Bertha, don't cancel the ball. We need to continue to present a certain type of front. This is for my business. This has to be, I have to look stable. I have to look healthy. I have to look strong. I have to look ready for this major industry that I'm about to give birth to, which is the railroad, the cross country railroad. Okay. So Bertha says, okay. And she's rambling about McAllister and Miss Astor and so on, all of her high society stuff. And George is just laying there looking at her. And what is the emotion? It's not giving, oh, I love you. I'm so happy to be with you. Bertha is giving that, like the way she clings to him. He shows up to the ball and she's so happy. She's elated. And George is not stoic, but not exuberant. And you think, oh, well, he's healing from a bullet wound. He's also high on laudanum. Now, I looked up laudanum because shout out to the props department. We see a little bottle and it says laudanum on it. And I had to look it up on Wikipedia. According to Wikipedia, laudanum is a mix of opium and alcohol that was used for pain medication. And it was very addictive. It was very addictive. So we have this scene where Larry walks into the room and he sees George standing there after and he's drinking. And Larry says, "Are you all right? Are you going to be all right?" And George is just very, yes. And he says something really beautiful to his son. He says, "Don't let a misunderstanding get in the way of your happiness. There will always be disagreements. You must weigh these against the value of what brings you together." And Larry kind of looks at him and then he drinks the whole tumbler. And I said, "Oh no, is George about to be an addict to laudanum? I don't want to see messy addict George. Please don't give us that." I might be overthinking it as I tend to do, but I feel like the show gives us visual cues and context clues all the time. And I think part of the fun of watching a show like this is, at least for me, is trying to guess to see where characters might go. So is it just me? Do y'all do that? Do y'all make up stories for these characters based on their actions and behaviors and things that they say? Anywho, so getting back to George. So we see that the day after the ball, he says to Bertha that he's going back to New York and not to the house, but to the club because he's not sure that he wants her. And y'all remember a few episodes ago when he said that she made him feel weak and for that he can't forgive himself? I knew this is a perfect example. When you do something that feels not like you, it can shift your whole feeling about the person that you did it for. Does that make sense? I understand George's sentiment. He's not sure because even though Gladys and the Duke seem to be very happy, he still feels a sense of regret and resentment around the fact that he walked his own daughter down the aisle while she was boohoo bawling and forced her into a marriage that sent her off to a whole other country. He, yeah, he says, "I don't want to be that type of ruthless, not that type. I want to be ruthless in business." Lord knows what's coming for Clay, because what does that mean? Ruthless in business means he's coming for Clay, and he's not sure he wants to be married to a woman who will use her family members as pawns. And listen, Carrie Coon, Audra McDonald, Danae Benton, Felicia Rashad, the acting, incredible. That final scene when Gladys walks in to tell her mom that she is pregnant and she's trying to keep herself together because she realizes that her marriage is crumbling. And Gladys tells her the news, and the way she clutches Gladys, Carrie, baby, baby. Whew. And then when she goes to the window and the carriage with her son and her husband is off to New York. back to the club, not back to the house, back to the club. So that's the story as far as the George and Bertha situation. Now, let's talk about our black ball. Let's talk about Peggy and the black ball moment real quick. Highlight of the episode for me was pretty much every single scene that involved Peggy Scott in this episode. Every single scene. From the very beginning when she was home with her mom and they thought the doctor was going to propose and they were all excited and giddy and it was really exciting and cute and fun. He's coming over. He wants to talk to me. He needs to ask me a question. It's very important. He wants to talk to me before the ball. So, oops. No, actually, that's not it, Peggy. He just found out that you were married and you had another child and your child died and so on and so forth. And now he feels weird about you, or maybe he feels unsure, or maybe he just needs to process and think about it. Either way, it's a lot of information and he has to think about it. So he leaves, and Peggy is crying and assuming that this is the end of their relationship because she has a lot of shame around this trauma. And she also knows that his mom is not the type of mom that would approve because she already don't like me. This is just adding fuel to the fire. So she is on the stairs crying her beautiful eyes out. And mom comes back home and she tells mom he knows about the baby and it's over. And that's, yeah. And it's such a beautiful moment between mother and daughter. And I have another line from that scene. If y'all wouldn't mind indulging me. Um, Peggy was acting down and she says to her daughter, Audra McDonald says, love doesn't disappear in an instance. No matter what happens, you are worthy of a husband who understands and gives you grace and cherishes you. And so beautiful. And Peggy says, I wish I could believe that. Oh no, not Peggy not believing that she's worthy. No, no, baby girl. You are worthy. Okay? You are worthy. Mama ain't lying to you. Okay? You are worthy of grace. You are worthy of love, respect, all of those things. And thank you to the writers, Julian Fellows and Sonia Warfield, for giving it to us. Because Dr. Kirkland has been consistent. He's been measured, but also consistent. And he came through. Came through. He had a moment with his mom and his dad. And, you know, it was really wonderful to see the way Peggy's mom stood up for her and spoke up for her. The acting, that moment with Felicia Rashad and Audra McDonald in the dressmaker's boutique was so intense. It was so intense because Mama Scott was giving it to her. Like, listen, don't talk about my baby, okay? And she says, if that is truly his decision, then your son was never really worthy of my Peggy in the first place. Period. Period. they went back and forth, eye for an eye, and it didn't dawn on me that she is a pastor's wife until this episode. I think I missed that detail. And that is interesting. That is an interesting detail. The fact that she's a pastor's wife. And yes, I'm sure she's based on knowing the writers of the show and the historians, the Black historians that work on this show. I am sure that all of these characters we're experiencing are inspired by actual people in history. This is me rambling a little bit, but getting back to Peggy Scott's story. So there is some really good moments where Mrs. Kirkland is put down a peg or two. And I did feel a sense of softening. Maybe that's just me hoping, but I think that the way her husband spoke to her was very helpful. And it seems as if he is willing to step up and kind of give her some context clues and have her just not be so uppity. I find the parallels between Bertha and Mrs. Kirkland very interesting as well. They seem to be similar archetypes in terms of characters, which is very controlling, very domineering, very judgmental. But Bertha softening to Marion was something that was quite refreshing. Mind you, it's because she helped save her husband's life, but still, she did a complete 360, 180, 360 from not liking Marion at all to wanting her at the ball. So we will see if Mrs. Kirkland warms up to Peggy in some way. But I appreciate Peggy Scott's father saying to Dr. Kirkland, listen, a marriage is between a man and woman, not the family. So, mind you, you have my blessing, and you will please remember that. So, we have this beautiful, enchanting fairy tale moment where Dr. Kirkland walks into the ball and Peggy is being spun around by this lovely young prince. And the music is so wonderful, and the camera's in slow motion, and Peggy spins, and her eyes are full of hope and wonder and surprise. Oh, he came and he's walking towards me. Okay, I thought it was over. I was wrong. Yes, Peggy, you were wrong. So they dance, and he says, oh, if you will have me. He spins her around. He gets down on one knee. He opens the box. He asks, will you marry me? She looks very happy. Everyone is watching. But do we hear her say yes? Am I reading too much into it, y'all? Did we hear her say yes? I don't think we heard her say yes. So I find that odd. But still, love that scene. Such a beautiful moment, right? So now we have no more Gilded Age until season 4. And what are our predictions for season 4? Peggy and the doctor get married. Bertha and George get divorced. George is addicted to laudanum. Oscar and Mrs. Winterton get married. Larry and Marion, who knows? What do you think? What do you think? What do you think is coming? I'm really wanting a little bit more from downstairs. So I hope we get more of that. And I'm really loving the Black storyline. Obviously, I'm biased. Look at me. Look at my work that I do. So I'm loving that. We're getting so much of that, and it's very full, it's very plentiful, it's very beautiful, and it feels good to witness Peggy get a happy moment because our girl has been through it for 3 seasons. Yes. Oh, really quick. Speaking of our girls going through it, Ada and Agnes, this beautiful transition between them, where Ada is more of the con uh, leader, stepping into her power in the house. Really wonderful. This moment where Agnes encourages Marion to go to Larry because of the conversation that she had with Ada, right? Ada spoke to Agnes. Ada said she loves him. And Agnes, well, a marriage isn't about love, it's about status and what you can get out of it. Ada says, you got status out of your marriage. Did you enjoy it? Agnes says, I don't remember. You blocked it out because your husband was abusive. Is that what you want for your niece? Do you want her to be in a marriage where she needs to completely disassociate to exist in it just for wealth and status? Or do you want her to be in a marriage of love where she's cared for and respected? So Agnes has her come to Jesus moment, so to speak, and she also gets a wonderful position as vice president of the National Historical Society, which is really good for her because she needs something of status. She needs something to give her life purpose and her life meaning. And she is a historical broad. All throughout the past 3 seasons, she's always dropping her little, oh, yes, my ancestors have land on the blah, 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 blah. And we came up there in the 1800s. And she's always flexing her legacy. So this VP position is perfect. And it gives her something to do and it gives her something to say that she is because she's no longer wealthy. Yay, Agnes. Okay. So if you've made it this far through this long ass video, please subscribe to my channel, leave a comment, give this video a thumbs up, and let me know what you're looking forward to for season 4. What were your favorite scenes and moments in this episode? And thanks for watching. Bye.